Hello, y'all. I am trying to do this as a stream thing and a Patreon thing, and I don't know if the word's gonna go out, but hopefully people are gonna find out. I don't know that I even put anything on Discord. I'm gonna try and do it now while we're chatting. Let's see if I can like make it seem even semi-seamless while I'm ranting. That I'm gonna be like, I'm on here live now, y'all, and people can come and hang out. So I'm live now, y'all. There you go. If you were reading that, you could read it and see it and hear it all at once. Okay, so as of the time of this broadcast, I have a Patreon game of D&D here in a little over an hour. So we got some time to chat. Then I'm going to head into the studio and go in and do what I do. I wanted to talk to you because I try and post at least one of these monthly chats. I did one with Melee Damage earlier this week where we talked about a lot of stuff. Today, also, I don't know if you can see this, but I got my wingmate here. There you go. Hey, buddy. There's Anakin. Yeah, he's kind of he's being combination like very loving and very disagreeable because he's batting at my fingers and stuff, which can be non-optimal when I'm trying to say words. If you see me like flinch or something out of nowhere, it's because he's digging his claws in, kneading on my leg, which is not enjoyable. So anyhow, I was with May earlier this week, talked about some stuff, and didn't get to say everything I wanted to say. And then I realized I had a few minutes here, so I was like, "Yeah, let's jump on and talk." A couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, time's a flat circle now, maybe 2 weeks ago, somebody posed a very interesting question to me. Celador Mythica, shout out Celador, asked me, what have I learned running all of these sessions of Vampire? Because at this point, I've run over 50 sessions of Vampire via Skype. It might be over 60 if I stop to count it up, which is pushing now to have Vampire be one of the games that I've run the most. I think D&D still got the crown because I ran a game of Pathfinder that lasted 4 years. I still count Pathfinder as D&D because it basically was 3.5. But needless to say, I've run a lot of Vampire now. And I've learned a few things. First of all, the Storyteller system is very easy to use and very modular. I think it lends itself very well to new DMs. It lends itself very well to new players. It's very easy to comprehend. This is the modern day. This is right now. It's 2019. You've got Google. You've got cell phones. You've got cable. You just also happen to have superpowers and you're an immortal monster. That's a pretty easy mental leap for people to make. And just as an aside, if you're thinking about running a game, if you're thinking about starting up being a DM or a storyteller, do it. Do it. Just get some of your friends together and just try and tell a cool story. And don't sweat too much about making a mistake. The only mistake you can make is not doing it. Don't even get too hung up in the rules. Obviously, the rules are important and we need to honor them. But again, the rules are a set of structure that allow the narrative to take place in a fulfilling way. The rules exist to facilitate the story, not the other way around. I know sometimes people tell me this, especially with D&D, that knowing a lot of the lore can be overwhelming. Which I mean, obviously, this was something I dealt with when I was first creating Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish. That there's 50 years of Forgotten Realms continuity that I know by no means do I know all of it. So even when I created Theogony of Kairos, even further back than that, my answer to that was I just created a new place. I was like, you're in the South, you know. So even if you want to run D&D, and in fifth edition D&D is also fairly easy to get into, especially if you're using D&D Beyond. Um, don't worry about the fact that you may not know 50 years of continuity and history of Baldur's Gate or Waterdeep or Neverwinter, because again, I don't, and I've been doing this since I was 13. Just create a new place. Like, hey, you guys are villagers, and now you go into a dungeon and do things. If you're running a game of Vampire, set it in your hometown. If you don't want to do LA by night, because maybe you're not familiar with LA, I mean, obviously you're welcome to do LA by night. There's lore sheets for all of our characters, including a Victor Temple lore sheet that you can get from Dogmite. So you know the Baron can look out for you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. What else are you gonna do with those advantage points, right? Might as well invest them in me. Yeah, but do it again. I think also I was fortunate in that before I started doing this, because also these 50 sessions are in like 3 months. I just started doing these Patreon games in June. So it's the end of October. So 4 months. So obviously, if you think about it, it's a lot of D and it's probably more than 50 sessions by now. Honestly, it might be like 65, closer to 70. Um, but obviously, I've been doing this for a long time already. So I think that some of the main things are it was easy for me to do it with this because because the people coming into Patreon were fans of LA by Night. They were fans of me and they were happy to be playing with me. And so having the adventure hook in most of the beginning adventures being Victor Temple asks you to do a thing was a adventure hook with a universal adapter, and no one fought that. Everybody went in with it. Everybody was just like, "Yeah, of course, absolutely," and and it was all good. I think most groups will probably go with the adventure hook that you set out for them because they know what it is. But you, as the DM, have to always be ready to adjust. I'd say on the one hand, characters, if you're playing and you see that a storyteller's trying to go in a certain way, don't row the opposite direction for the sake of being disagreeable. But by the same token, storyteller, if you think things are going one way and the players are all going somewhere else or hooking on to a different aspect of the story or a different NPC or just seem to want to have a different experience than what you wanted to have planned, be mindful of that. It is a collaborative art. It is a collaborative art. The storyteller and the players are weaving this narrative together at the same time. Um, in a lot of these sessions, even though I'd read people's character sheets in advance, I told you then and I tell you now, there was a 0% chance I was going to keep 80 people's character sheets straight in my head. There's still a 0% chance that I will. So, what I have to do is when I come in, I know what Victor's going to ask, right? Here's the thing, and I know roughly where that thing is, and I know of at least one way it can be done, and then I think of all the curveballs I can throw, right? Just that's kind of my DM philosophy. I make sure there's a solution. I make sure there's a way. There's always a way. And then I make everything as difficult and complex and complicated as I can because that's when the players get a fulfilling experience of overcoming those obstacles. If it's too easy, people don't care. Also, if it's too hard, people don't care. Um, Remember, I've gone on record a number of times saying this, and I still very much stand by it that the reason why people play tabletop role playing games and why video games will never completely get rid of them is tabletop games give people a chance to feel like they are at cause in the narrative, that their actions have real impact and real consequences, that what they do matters. What you do matters in a video game to a certain point, but for the most part, even in an open world game, there's still rails, there's still a story, there's still places you're supposed to go, there's still NPCs you can't attack, there's still buildings you can't burn down. Um, you can't decide to retire from being an adventurer and open up a cupcake shop instead. You know, like these aren't things that you can do in a video game. These are all things you can do in role playing games or tabletop games, and look and see where that is and which way it's going to go. Um, in last week's episode of Heroes of the Veil, also, don't know if you noticed, it was announced today that I will be joining the cast of Heroes of the Veil for the new reboot of the show Beyond Heroes starting November 6th. So I will be both Baron of the Valley and Hero of the Veil. So hey, there you go. GG. Thank all of you for making that possible. Um, and I'll come back to how it is that I pulled that off, by the way, and how it is that I've pulled off all this streaming stuff here momentarily. But last week in Heroes of the Veil, I had a cursed coin that had a goddess trapped in it, an evil goddess trapped in it. And I was trying to rescue a friend, and the rest of the group were trying to, like, they thought I was in league with the evil goddess. I really wasn't. But um, they were just adamant that they weren't going to let me go and they weren't going to let me finish my mission until I gave them this coin, which I knew was my only ace up my sleeve, as it were, or coin in my boot, my little halfling toes, as it were. And I messaged the DM, Todd Kenrick. I messaged him real time, and I was like, if I let loose this goddess, is it going to ruin the story? And he just wrote back, no, with like 4 or 5 O's, dot, 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 dot. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. And then there in the game, I was literally, my character was like, hey, so the evil coin lady says if I let her loose, she's going to save my friend. And if you don't let me go, I will do it. And you cannot stop me. And they wouldn't let me go. So I let her loose. And then, hijinks ensued. I won't spoil the rest of the story for you. You should watch it. Incredible things happened. Like, really incredible things happened. But you have to be able to roll with that type of thing, both as a storyteller and as a player, right? Um, I would also say about Vampire, one of the main things I realized is when we were doing LA by Night, we started off getting fairly robust amounts of experience. We were getting 5 experience per level. And I personally specialized in Dominate, as you might know, and got to level 5 pretty quickly. But we all got pretty strong fairly fast. And then Jason had to like taper off our experience points because otherwise it was going to turn into Rocket Tag pretty quickly. I've seen that same thing happen here. That now we've got people, some of the ones that were playing from the beginning, especially our Shadow Coterie players, have a lot of experience and have a lot of power. It so happens, I mean, vampire, there's always a stronger vampire, but part of the ethos of V5 is a lot of that has been depowered and a lot of the street level, which when I talk about wanting to bring in more of the World of Darkness stuff, this is why I'm kind of having to like slow boat this slightly because if you vampire got way toned down in V5, and I kind of have a sense that all of them are going to get toned down in their V5 incarnations. And if I just brought in V20 versions of Werewolf and Mage and Wraith and Changeling, those characters would just smash every kindred. I mean, look at the stat blocks on page 375 and 376. They're all incredibly powerful. So that's why I'm trying to ease into this of using those stat blocks as a default, honestly, because that's what it is so far, and then sort of flavoring those to taste. Because, like I said, I don't necessarily want to be on the hook to have to rewrite 5 major books and games. I'd rather be like, oh, okay, you want to play Arun Fiana. Okay, great. Well, here's your stab log. Let's sort of flavor that, like maybe with your particular Fiona, you're going to take a little less potence, but you want to take a little more presence because you're a storyteller. Great. Like that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. So some of you have hit me up about character creation, which I love. But what's useful to me, if you know these games, if you're just starting, if you really just came into this world through LA by Night, if your first introduction to Werewolf, Changeling, Wraith is Steph. Hey, Rochelle, we're gonna see you in a little over an hour. We're gonna play some D&D. Rochelle's in my noon D&D group. The Gemma Blade song. She plays Swords Bard, and she's incredible. Wait, you Swords Bard or Valley Bard, Rochelle? Either way, Gemma's incredible. Um, yeah, that's if you're coming into this. Yep, Swords Bard. If this is your first experience, ow, quit scratching me, buddy. He's like kneading my bare leg, and I'm like, I know you're trying to tell me that you love me, but like it hurts a lot. Um, hey, Alexander, how you doing, Ree? The If this is your first introduction, show be it. Just pick those stat blocks in the back of the book and we'll kind of work it out together. If you know the games, it's easier for me if you come to me and you're like, hey, look, I want to play a Black Fury with a heroin problem. And, she never knew her father because all the male Black Furies get kicked out of the tribe. And that's kind of what I want to explore. And I want to lower her auspex, but increase her celerity a little bit because she's always blinded by anger. I'm like, great, dope. That's the character concept, and we're going to make that work. Which, to be clear, that is what is going to make these characters interesting and distinct. It's not necessarily the stat block, at least not initially, because there is going to be significant overlap, at least initially, until we kind of come up with some house rules for the gifts and the different. Arun and Metis and all of that stuff. Like we're going to build that. I'm just desperately trying not to be on the hook to have to write like 70 pages of content in advance. Hey, Lord Sorrow. Hey, Thad. It's funny. It's like pretty much all the people that are playing D&D at noon are the ones that are showing up in chat because they're like ready. They're like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Also, hey, Corey. I might have painted myself into a corner here because now I can't be late because they knew I was up and streaming. So they're going to be like, why weren't you ready to play D&D on time, man? Great. Um, yeah, so that's what I would say when you're looking into these things. Also, if you're not familiar, Fandom, the website Fandom, has excellent wikis on werewolf and vampire and changeling and wraith and all of that stuff that you can go back and read and kind of get a point of reference for how some of these things worked. And bring that with you to help kind of inform your character choice and where you're trying to go with the character that you want to play and the story that you want to tell. Um, I really want to lean more into doing that stuff. I got some advice that I think was going to be really helpful about how to structure some of these games in a way that I think is going to be helpful for you guys. Where I'm going to basically outright explain to you kind of like where the different tribes are in Los Angeles and how they're doing, where the different traditions are, where the different kiths are, and how it's all going on. So it'll be like a little easier to hook in on. I know with the vampire game, we started with a little more of a blank slate. And, I mean, we kind of had the structure of LA by night to go on a little bit. So it wasn't like a blank slate. But after that, it was just sort of like, hey, here's the valley, here's the club, here's some NPCs, and action. I want to be able to like give a little more for a werewolf. So, because a lot of people don't have a point of reference. So, um, that's something I intend to do. Again, I apologize, you guys, that a lot of things bottleneck with me. I also apologize that as of now, I really don't know any way around that because I am the only one coming up with the main story. And a lot of times the mods don't know much more than you do because I really am trying to preserve their experience as players as well. I want them to be shocked and amazed and horrified and aghast by things just like you are. So sometimes they might get a little more visibility, but not much. So what my counter to that is I have been creating a lot of Discord native stories and Discord native characters. So there are things that you all can do when I'm not around, and there are things that the mods completely dive into and 100% make the call. I mean, at this exact moment, none of them can really play Domingo Vargas because they don't know what I'm doing with him. But I created the other characters in his group and the other characters that are with him expressly so they could. So yes, you might not be able to do anything with that Lasombra, but here's other Sabat Lasombra you can do stuff with. Same thing with Agent Lazarus. They may not know where I'm going with that. And then the Second Inquisition, but then I created other Second Inquisition people that I'm like, there you go, do that. Because I knew when we tried to set this in motion as 24-hour day live role play, there was no chance whatsoever that I could keep up with all of it because there's no chance that anyone can keep up with all of it. And I wanted it to be a living, breathing thing, but I also wanted to be as fulfilling an experience as possible. And this is completely uncharted territory. To my knowledge, no one has done what we're doing here. Again, text-based role play, especially in the world of darkness, is not new. Of course, for many years, this was where the world of darkness lived. It was in communities like this, but having it directly adjacent to LA by night and directly connected to Long Beach by night is new. So we're working it out a day at a time, and I appreciate your patience and I appreciate your participation because it literally wouldn't be what it is without you. And there's been 100 times one of you guys said something just kind of in passing or asked me a question that you thought was going to be cool, and I was able to take that and go in a direction that even I didn't know I was going to go in, which has been really enjoyable. I mean, again, the whole Domingo Vargas plot line was born out of Jax being like, my sire's 1,000-year-old Templar, and I'd love to invite him to Los Angeles. And I was like, oh, word, And then here we go. And you've seen what has happened, and it is heading towards a very very final resolution on November 2nd. And again, I point out Saturday, November 2nd, noon, we are doing the Pala Grande event. We are very much trying to figure out how we're going to do it to make it be immersive and participatory for as many people as possible. I'm not sure. Yes, Megan / Paisley, damn it, Jax. He brought this upon all of your heads, by the way. Um, but yes. Oh, another thing that it's funny because as seeing Paisley pop up in chat reminded me of this. That one of the things we're going to be implementing today is oh yeah, Lord Sorrow just said it made it a lot easier for me when I realized I couldn't keep up with everything and focus on stuff that concerned me. Absolutely. Again, you guys, the easiest way to approach the Discord is literally when you're there, your character's there, and when you're not there, your character isn't. I mean, if you choose to read things and read some of the other scenes and try and stay caught up, that's cool. But again, I really want this to be a community that you want to participate in because it's fun. I am acutely aware that when something transitions from a want to do to a must do, you innately squeeze some of the juice out of it and you squeeze some of the joy and the fun out of it. Which, while I recognize there's definitely some people that love a lot of structure, so I am, except for scheduling games and having an agreement on when we're all going to show up and do what we do. I make a point to not push anything. It's like you have to be here at this time, or you have to be there at that time, because it quickly backfires, and then you have it becomes a drag for people to get there. It becomes stressful for people that missed it. Don't worry about it. Just hook in where you can hook in. uh Argentum Lotus said, I think my issue is not even knowing where to begin. Okay, so we made a channel in the Discord right at the top where to begin. And if you're not sure after that, because it should give you or I think it's a start here. Actually, hang on. I'll read it right now and tell you exactly what it says. It says, start here. Yeah, it is the very first channel at the very top. It says start here, start there. It'll give you some pointers. And then if you're not sure after that, I would probably say go to the Club Maharani channel and just start talking to people. I mean, it is very welcoming and inclusive. That's why it's grown so fast. Everybody's easy to talk to. Not a lot of gatekeeping, not a lot of toxicity, and people bring you right in. And if you really don't know where to start, even after that, hit up one of the mods. Just be like, hey, I just started. I'm not really sure, how to get my feet wet. I mean, pretty much everybody's character are new to the valley. I mean, again, the oldest ones there have been there 3 months now. You know, um, yeah, and then Don said the community is awesome. They all read it, get are super supportive. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so welcome aboard. Just there's really no wrong way to do it, honestly. And again, we're figuring out a lot of things. We're house ruling a lot of things. We're making changes real time because we try things and we see if it works. Then we try and do more of that. If it runs into problems, we change that too. And it's a living, breathing thing, or not breathing, because we're kindred and we don't. So there you go. GG. Um, Let me tell you guys a little bit too, about how it is I even got into this world. And believe it or not, I'm probably going to wrap it up at about the half hour mark, because, like I said, I have a D&D game to run, and they're all in here and knew where I was, so I can't be late. Um, First, before that, I definitely ran into a personal snag this just a few days ago, and it all got turned around very quickly. Thank you very much to the community. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so very much. I posted a thing where I said I was very much in trouble, and you very much saved me, and that means you're a hero. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, the streaming game is a lot of fun. Basically having gone pro at this is really great and really enjoyable. Like I said, it's the hardest part about it is, it is inconsistent, it is up and down, and quite frankly, it is difficult to make money at. Even people that are at the highest height of it. Um, it in and of itself is not like a huge income generating business. But I mean, when you think about the concept of getting paid money to play games, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's kind of like, okay, sign me up for that. So have that in your mind. I'm telling you this now for those of you that want to become streamers and want to pursue this as a career path, which again you should do. I just want you to have as reasonable expectations as possible about what you can really expect and what you can really look forward to. Um, it is the best way to do it is again to do it. But when you start playing with your friends, or when you play even in our games, try not to break character. And most of you are pretty good about this. If you notice, once the game starts, I ask your real name right at the beginning, and then I refer to you exclusively as your character name from then on. I do that on purpose to make it maximally immersive. If you notice on LA by Night, we pretty much never break character. I mean, just every once in a while we will, but I mean, it's, you know, 2, 3, 5% of the time. And the rest of the time, like, we are in. There are definitely streams that break the fourth wall. I mean, with the Uncommon Trust, some breaking of the fourth wall is very much our brand, especially on Theogony of Kairos. We did it a lot. Even on Long Beach by Night, you'll see me do it a little bit. But for the most part, if I had to nail down the one thing that really separates people that are doing this professionally from people that are doing it just for fun, and the streams that are really high quality and will become popular versus the ones that are just a webcam watching people play a game, is that element of a performance. And the performance is born out of immersion and being down in it. Um, Again, you look at Heroes of the Veil. I did 4 episodes and then got invited to be on the main cast, because that was what I brought to the table. When I showed up originally in the first episode, I was a mind flayer, and I very much was a mind flayer, and I did mind flayer stuff. And then I was a halfling, and then when I was a halfling, I did halfling stuff. Because when you put on that mask, uh, don't take it off until the game is over, because not only will this be a better performance, but this will be a better experience for you, and a more immersive experience for you, and a more fulfilling experience for you, because the more that you are actually engaged and in that place, when things happen, you can respond organically and spontaneously, and you will feel the actual highs and lows of when things are working and when things aren't working. I would also say try and have a real, true insight into who your character is and why it is they do what they do. Again, the reason why I can react so quickly as Victor is, as I've said many times, that dude is me. Like, if I got embraced tonight, in 15 years, I'd be Victor. So his worldview and his motivations are very clear to me. So it's very easy for me to react quickly. And honestly, I put a lot of thought into it too. I really do try and play the game like 3 steps ahead of not actually, well, I do very much try and deduce what I think Jason is doing and what's happening. Um, Not to spoil it as such, but to help make sure I'm fulfilling it, and to help make sure that things are going the way they're going. And if you notice, a lot of the times, especially in LA by Night and also in Heroes of the Veil, because we were just doing this, I will consciously throw the ball to someone else. Like, what do you think, Jasper? you know where what who do you want to talk to first, Annabelle, right? Because I try and set other people up to have their moments where they look good, and then when my times come up that only I can do what I can do, like mass dominating friends to stop them from doing suicidal stuff, then I can do that, and it flows organically, and it has like an impact, right? So, immersion, try not to break character. Again, understand your character and who they are and why they do what they do. And shout out to Megan with Paisley, because Paisley is really fantastic at this. Oh, and I don't know that I ever actually said what I was thinking. Today, we're going to add a new channel. I'm not sure what we're going to name it. It might have already happened because Michelle is a wizard, but basically like a story summary, the story so far type thing, where we're going to have like an Archangel type recap of what happened. Because right now, I realize the only person who knows what's happened in every single one of these sessions is me. And a lot of times, I think there's things that you guys are going to go back and talk about, and then you don't. And I'm like, oh, I was trying to seed a thing there. And none of the 4 or 5 people that witnessed it went and told anyone what was happening. And I'm like, oh, cool, 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 cool. GGG. So we're going to try and have like essentially an Archangel's recap channel there, where you'll find out what happened in some of these games that you weren't in, but also hopefully kind of have an easy place to sort of read kind of the meta plot so far of what's happening. Also, I just want to share this with you, by the way, that hopefully I can show him to you. He's just like rumbling away a storm, like a storm here. Like, he is just a happy kitty. He is like kneading and chewing into my leg and happy all at once. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I super get too that it's a lot to keep track of. Believe me, I know. I keep track of all of it. But I think that'll be easier when it's like starts outsourcing. Have all the some of the things out into one easy place there. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think soon I'm going to wind it up. Do you guys have any questions? Um, that anything in particular that is in your mind. I will just say again, thank you guys for being a part of the community. It has grown very quickly. Um, I would say the recap channel is ideally going to be in game knowledge rim. Um, that the things your characters actually witnessed. Again, we're going back and forth about it logistically because again, I don't want it to be something you have to do. I just want it to be a place that you can go right after the game, and then sort of everybody's going to be expecting a little bit of a recap, and you guys sort of have your mind dump of what happened. I know not everybody's going to do that. We got people all over the world. A lot of times when our games are done, it's very late where they are. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Um, I really must apologize to you guys. I'm desperately trying to avoid me being on the hook to sit and write every summary because one, that's a whole lot of summaries, and two, it's already hard for me to try and keep up with everything and answer every message as every NPC, and I feel super guilty about that, but I'm kind of stuck with it. So, doing what I can there. So, we're trying to democratize things, and I think it'll be better if it's multiple people writing it because you'll get multiple points of view and quite frankly kindred lie and are unreliable narrators, so you might get a recap of events that actually isn't accurate, but that's what the person remembers or that's what they choose to say, and I think that'll be kind of interesting too, because that's one thing to remember, that kindred lie. Yeah. And yeah, the people being hungry for details of the live games is why we started the in-game text messages. It was expressly to give you just a little taste of what was going on, or just a little taste of what some of the other characters were going through, which I was very very happy to see that implemented, and I think it was a really great idea. So, um, oh, again, uh, Paisley, true story, true story, when the idea came up that we were going to do a recap channel basically as Archangel, the very first thing literally all of us said is like, oh my God, it's got to be Paisley. And the only reason I pulled back on that is I was like, I didn't want to like load up Paisley with having to be the only one that understood things and having this job to write stuff. But the Paisley worldview of literally everything is my favorite worldview. Anytime Paisley is saying words, I'm happy. Yes. Hey, so thank you guys for hanging out with me here. I'm gonna run and get out the door to go do a little level 20 Forgotten Realms adventures, and then tonight at 4:30 we have the Shadow Coterie. Our original six will be back together, and some terrible shit's gonna happen to them to help set up the last week going into the Pala Grande. I mean, great things, a lot of fun. We are going to have a lot of fun today. Ah ha 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 ha. Cool. All right. So you guys are fantastic. I love all y'all. Again, visit us on the Discord, patreon.com/B Dave Walters. And we will be doing more things. And it's funny because we just get this huge spike in people logging in right when I got to log out, but that's all right because there's going to be a recording. Oh, I'm dying. Sorry. I'm choking. I'm choking. All right. I love y'all. Bye.